Are you thinking about moving to Winter Haven, Florida in 2025? Because if you are, this video is for you. We're going to talk about the things that have changed since 2020, 2019, and we're going to talk a little bit about Winter Haven, what you can expect when you get here, just a lot of different things. So let's dig in. So if you've never been to Winter Haven, Florida sits about halfway between Tampa and Orlando in Polk County. Polk County is the largest county in the state, and you're probably going to be about 50 minutes, give or take, to Tampa or Orlando. You've got a lot of different ways to kind of move around. So if you're in Winter Haven and you're wanting to get to Tampa, we have the 570, which is a toll road, and you can take the 570 from Winter Haven up to I-4 at around County Line Road, or you can take it all the way up, I think it's 33, on the east side, heading towards Orlando. Now, very soon, the 570 is going to go from the Winter Haven area all the way down into Bartow, which means you're going to be able to make an easy path going into Brandon or going into Vero Beach. And so you're going to have a lot of different options to get around. Now, the cost of living in Winter Haven is actually about 4% lower than the national average. We have, of course, in the state of Florida, we have no state income tax, so that's a huge savings. And because Polk County has lesser property taxes than other counties in the state, like Hillsborough County, which is Tampa, and Orange County, which is Orlando, you save a little bit more living in Polk County than you would in other areas. Now, when it comes to things like groceries and stuff like that, we're fairly much on par, but I will say this, compared to Tampa, Orlando, or God forbid even down in Miami, food prices tend to be just a little bit less. I'll give you an example. We went to Aldi looking for eggs, and everybody else was like over $5. Aldi was $4.67 for a dozen eggs, and they had a cap of 2, but they were cheaper. So you can still find budget-friendly places to get really good produce and groceries at a discount price. Plus, we do have a lot of farmers markets and open-air markets that you can choose from for your veggies and whatnot. So we have a lot of options in that regard. Now, when it comes to public transportation, understand that the state of Florida is not very public transportation friendly unless you're in a metropolitan area like a Tampa, Orlando, Miami, Jacksonville, stuff like that. We do have Heartline buses that go all the way, throughout the county, which is great. But aside from Uber and Heartline, you're not going to find a whole lot of ways to get around in terms of like public transportation, even though Uber's not really public, it's private, and I get that. So don't sit there and make hate in the comments. It was a flub. Anyhow, Heartline is probably the biggest thing. We don't really have a whole lot else for you. When it comes to being able to walk as opposed to drive, again, Florida is not a public transportation friendly state. Most of the cities, unless they're big cities like Miami or Tampa, don't really have the ability to house you in a place where, like in New York, you can walk everywhere. We just don't do that. Most people drive. Now, the way some people have gotten around it, believe it or not, is through scooters. You can purchase a scooter under a certain engine size or CC that is basically licenseless. You can ride the scooter, go to wherever you want to go, and not far. I mean, you're not going to be on the interstate with it, but you can go in town with it and get around and not have to worry about it. Now, when it comes to the housing market, home values here have increased exponentially since 2016, 17. Back in 2016, 17, the median value for a home in Polk County was about $169,000. That has gone up to about $350,000. Now, that doesn't mean you can't find a home under $350,000. You can find a home under $250,000, but it's going to take you a little bit longer to find a pristine home that's going to give you everything that you're looking for in that price range. Homes between $300,000, $400,000 or above, there's tons of them out there, whether they're in HOAs, whether they're out of HOAs. The ones that seem to fly off the shelves right now tend to be homes with land. It's very hard to find homes above an acre. And so when you see a home, a nice home, whether it's a manufactured home or single family home, on an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, it's going to get scarfed up pretty quick. So you want to make sure that you're prepared for that. The other thing that you want to consider when you're looking at homes in the different communities here is, whether you're looking for an older home or a newer home. We have a lot of new construction. There's a lot of new homes being built. And those homes, a lot of them are really nice, and they come with a lot of perks. We have older homes. A lot of them in Winter Haven are built in the 50s and 60s. They're nice homes, but, they're older homes. They're going to have problems with wiring. Let's say, for example, they have cloth wiring. Even one strand of cloth wire can cause you problems when you're trying to get homeowners insurance. So you want to be thinking about that. They also have, when you're below, say, 1980, you're going to have galvanized plumbing, and you're going to have cast iron going out to the street as far as sewage goes. Those two things right there can be expensive to repair or replace. There are ways around it. We know that we can do sleeves for the cast iron. They have that ability now to be able to put a polyurethane sleeve and then harden it by putting the hardener all the way through it. And that takes care of the issue of having to replace or dig up the cast iron piping, but it's still expensive. And then when it comes to the plumbing, galvanized plumbing rusts, and eventually you'll end up getting a little pinhole, and that can flood the house. And so there are ways around that as well. You can have that replaced through the crawl space. You can have it replaced around the outside of the exterior of the home. You don't have to dig up everything underneath the home in order to be able to do that, but you still have money that you have to spend. So you want to be thinking about that. Now, the cool thing about Winter Haven itself is you have a lot of lakefront opportunities. We have the chain of lakes, the Winter Haven chain of lakes, which spreads out over 21 different lakes that are all interconnected with canals. And so you have opportunities there to live, to have a lakefront piece of property. And those lakefront pieces of property can go from around $350,000, $375,000 with a fixer-upper, up to over $2 or $3 million, depending on what you're looking for. So there are a lot of opportunities there. I would probably say median value for a lakefront home is going to be somewhere in the 4 to 7 range, maybe a little bit more than that. So it kind of depends on which lake, kind of depends on what house and what community, but you have those options. Aside from that, you have all kinds of different options when it comes to housing, whether it's single family, multifamily, if you're looking at investing, whether it's manufactured homes, condos, townhomes, you name it, we got it, And so the housing market here has become very robust over the past few years. It's also gone up in value, but we're also starting to see in 2024 into 2023, we're also starting to see a leveling. And so the market hasn't tanked, and it's not going to. There's just too few homes on the market, and way too many buyers still. But we've seen the time on market go from hours to over 50 days. So we're heading towards a more balanced market, which past balanced could turn into a buyer's market, which would mean as a buyer, you have more power than the seller does. Remember, in a seller's market, there are very few homes and tons of buyers. And so whenever a seller puts their home on the market, they can pretty much call the shots because you don't have a whole lot to look at. As we see homes staying on the market longer, we're going to see a lot more buyers being able to negotiate with sellers for things like closing costs, warranties, repairs, all of that, which, we haven't seen in quite a long time. And so as we continue to move towards that healthy buyer's market, you're going to see that sellers are going to start lowering prices. And if you look and pay attention, you're going to see that that's been happening over the past year and a half. Prices have been lowering and lowering and lowering. And a lot of that was because since the end of 2023 all the way through 2024, a lot of sellers were pricing their homes as though it was still back in 2020, 2021. And so their house was priced well above market. And in order to sell it, they started to realize that they need to ratchet it down until they got to what's considered market value. Now we're starting to see more homes come out at market value, and that's going to be very refreshing for my buyers. Now, the biggest issue that we've seen with the housing market has been interest rates, of course. We have seen interest rates go from 2.64% all the way up to 7%, and now they're back down in the 6s. You know what? That's just the way the tide has turned. And so now we have higher interest rates, which means that it's harder to be able to afford the mortgage payment that you want without scaling down your purchase. The only thing that I can tell you is to continue to watch the market and save your pennies. If you have the ability to buy down your interest rate, which one point is 1%, the total cost of the house. So if you're looking at a $100,000 house, you're looking at $1,000 per point. If you're looking at a $200,000 house, of course, you're looking at $2,000. And so be thinking in terms of how much extra money can I save either for a down payment or to buy down the rate, or should I look at a brand new home where they're going to buy down the rate for me and they're going to give me closing costs? That's another option. If you're a first-time home buyer, there are a ton of first-time home buyer programs that will save you a junk of money. I mean, a junk of money. I have a customer that I just worked with. Matter of fact, a few weeks ago, we got an accepted offer, and she's getting about $10,000 or $12,000 from a first-time home buyer program through her lender towards buying about a $200,000 home. Now, that home is a very small home. It's about 980 square feet, but it's a starter home, and it's something that she can use as a rental home to build her financial future in the future when she outgrows it. And so those are the things that you really want to think about. And those are the things that I teach when we do a buyer's consult. So if you have any questions about the buyer's consult, anything like that, all my information is in the comment below or in the description. All right, next up, and I'm looking at my notes, so I'm cheating. Let's talk about employment opportunities in Winter Haven. Winter Haven has really kind of come up in terms of employment opportunities. We've seen a lot of new businesses move into the area. Of course, there's tons of restaurants, so if you're into restaurant work, you're pretty much golden. We have new hospitals and new emergency rooms through Baycare and Advent Health. So if you're in the medical field, that's an option for you. There's just a lot of things that are going on. Of course, there's always going to be secretarial and administrative jobs. There's going to be industrial jobs. There's going to be truck driving and so forth. You just have to determine whether your field is going to be here in Winter Haven or whether you'll have to drive to Lakeland or whether you have to drive to Tampa or Orlando, which are much bigger cities. The good news is right now where we're at as this video is being shot, the median home value in Tampa is about $500,000. Median home value in Orlando is a little under that, around $475,000, $485,000. But the median home value here in Winter Haven is about $350,000. So it may be worth the drive to save that kind of money and be able to buy a decent home without having to spend a ton of money. So be thinking about that. But aside from that, we do have a lot of businesses that are coming into the area, and it is a more healthy, robust business economy that hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of. Now, climate in Winter Haven is like climate pretty much everywhere else except for one little detail, okay? Florida tends to be hot and humid, especially Central Florida. We tend to be very hot and humid. During the summer, it gets up 90, 95, 98, sometimes 100 degrees. And the humidity is 85, 95. I mean, it's just nasty. You get out of your vehicle going to the grocery store or wherever, and you're already pouring sweat. It's like walking in soup. I've said that 100 times. It's just like walking in soup. It's just, sometimes it gets on your nerves. But I've been in Winter Haven. I lived in Lakeland for 25, 30 years, and I moved to Winter Haven about 6, 7 years ago. And the interesting thing, the one caveat to that statement is that because of all of the lakes in Winter Haven being so kind of like, concentrated, we get a lot of cooler breezes because the lakes tend to cool things off. Yeah. And so we end up being a little bit less humid and a little cooler. Mornings are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, cool, breezy, awesome. Afternoons are not bad, not as bad as what you would get in like Lakeland or Davenport or Bartow, where you're just bleeding sweat. It's hot, don't get me wrong, but it's just a little bit less hot. And so I love Winter Haven for that. When you start looking at outdoor activities, okay, Winter Haven has a lot to offer. We have a number of different golf courses. We have hiking and biking trails. We have pickleball courts, tennis courts. You can pretty much, name it. We have everything you'd be looking for as far as being able to go out. We have dog parks. We have all kinds of stuff. And so the Rails to Trails, which is a little bit further away, it's over in Auburndale, but it goes from Polk City, I think, all the way down to Bartow. And that Rails to Trails is an old railroad track that was taken out and then paved over. So you have a paved trail that goes 36 miles. We used to take our kids there when they were little and let them ride bicycles as we walked on the weekend, and it was phenomenal. Beautiful, beautiful place to go. And not very far from Winter Haven. Takes you about 10, 15 minutes to get to the trailhead and then head out. You can bicycle, you can run, jog, walk, excuse me, pretty much whatever you want to do. And so we have that. We have a number of different places that you can get out and hike, bike. Of course, you have the chain of lakes, so you can boat, fish, ski, canoe, kayak, pretty much whatever you want to do there, and a ton of different public boat ramps. And so you have a lot of opportunities for outdoor activities, whether you just want to go picnicking or whether you want to do something more strenuous. Now, when it comes to cultural events, community events, downtown Winter Haven is the place to be. We have the downtown market where you're going to find art exhibits, you're going to find curios, antiques, all kinds of stuff, as well as food trucks. It's a really cool place downtown in the park, and I think you'll really enjoy the cultural events, the things that that Winter Haven has that are a bit eclectic. So whether it's the art community, whether it's the antique shops, whether it's the Winter Haven Theater where you can see like indie films and old films and stuff like that. There's a lot of culture here that you wouldn't think would exist in a small town like Winter Haven. And so I think you'll be very pleased about what activities and what things there are around that will satisfy that need for culture. All right. Now, a lot of people that come here are concerned about healthcare facilities. They're worried that they're not going to be close enough to healthcare. We have a number of different options for you, close by and a little bit less close. So we have the Winter Haven Hospital, which if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I'm not a huge fan. I'm hoping they'll be able to get their act together, but okay, it is what it is. We also have Advent Health, which Advent Health just recently in the area around Legoland just put together this huge ER, Advent Health ER, and it's phenomenal. My son had to go there. in the middle of the night because of kidney stone, and they were absolutely fantastic. I would recommend Advent Health to anybody. We've had a couple of experiences, unfortunately, and they pulled us through each one of them. So fantastic. We also have Baycare, and there are a lot of Baycare facilities and Advent Health facilities aside from the emergency. And so you have some different options. We also have an Advent Health hospital in Davenport. It's a little bit further of a drive, about 20 or 30 minutes to get there. But if you need to get to a full hospital, that would be a place to go, aside from the Winter Haven Hospital. And so we do have health facilities around. Then you start getting into the Lakeland, which would be Lakeland Regional Health, which is another fantastic hospital. And then you start getting into Orlando Health, which is even further away, over an hour away, but another fantastic hospital. And there's also an Advent Health in Orlando as well. So you have a lot of different options, both close by and further away. A lot of doctors' offices, chiropractors' offices. I think you're going to be fine as far as healthcare goes. Now, looking at my notes again, because I am a cheater, one of the things that we have seen because of the influx of so many people coming into the community is congestion and traffic. Traffic and congestion have become a huge problem. The city planners are working on ways to mitigate that, but it's going to take time. The frustrating thing is that with all the people that have come into the Winter Haven area, now we have a lot of traffic down Cypress Gardens Boulevard, 17, 92. It's just become more evident that we need to widen roads and we need to fix the roads. We have a lot of potholes and a lot of roads that need to be resurfaced. I know that the city planners are going to work on that. I don't know when they're going to fix it, but it is a frustration that we all feel. But given all of the good things about living in Winter Haven, it's a frustration that me personally, I can deal with. Now, when it comes to safety, a lot of people ask me, Vince, is it safe? Is it a safe area? Am I going to be taking my heart in my throat because I came from New York, or I came from here, or I came from there? Look, guys, safety and crime are going to be dependent on where you live. You can take any neighborhood, any city, okay, and you can find high crime areas in the city and low crime areas in the city. You just have to kind of determine that. And I, as a realtor, can't tell you which is which, because that would be against the law according to the federal government. But what I can do is give you a way that you can determine for yourself whether the area that you're looking at a home in is going to be high crime or not. And here's the way it works. You find a home that you really like, you take that address, and you do a search for the sheriff's substation close to that address. You're going to call the sheriff's substation and ask for the records department. When you get to the records department, tell them, hey, look, I'm thinking about moving to Winter Haven. I'd like you to check this address and give me crime stats on it. And tell them I want to know all the crime stats, and I want it for 6 months within about a half a mile. And they will send you a crime report that shows you all the crime that's happened or didn't happen in that area within a half a mile for the past 6 months. That's going to help you make a better determination because you're getting it from the source. And so rather than me having to tell you, don't go here, go there, which is against the law, of course, you're going to get it from the Polk County Sheriff's Department. And that's the best way to go about doing it. Now, there is a website if you want to virtually tour called instantstreetview.com, and I'll show you right here. Instantstreetview.com is a little easier to use than Google Street View. You put an address in, it takes you right to the address. No fuss, no muss. You just start looking. And you can walk and see, does the neighborhood look like the kind of neighborhood that I want to live in? Is it dirty? Do we have cars up on blocks and, engines hanging from trees? Or is it a neighborhood that you feel help you so much further figure out what neighborhood you're looking at and whether or not you want to live there than anything else I can tell you. Now, when it comes to crime in total, I will tell you this. We have a fantastic sheriff and sheriff's department in Polk County. And most areas that the Sheriff's Department covers are pretty much taken care of, well taken care of. And I will tell you from a matter of experience over the past 6 or 7 years, living in the area around Legoland, which is called the Lake Eloise area, has been fantastic. I've never had an issue. When we got here, my daughter was like 11 or 12 years old, and she could go walking to Starbucks or walking to McDonald's or ride her bike. My wife could do the same thing, and I never had to worry about them. It's been a very, very, very safe community to live in. There are other areas in Winter Haven that are just as safe. Like I said, you need to make those determinations yourself. All right, next up. There's a lot of future projects that are coming up in Winter Haven. There's a lot of development going on. A lot of new homes, townhomes, everything from modest homes to luxury homes, townhomes. We don't really have a whole lot of condos. Central Florida, especially Polk County, is not big condo county, if you know what I mean. It's not like Pinellas County where you have all the condos on the beach, Orlando where you have the condos downtown, and same thing with Tampa. We don't have that kind of community here. We do have condos, don't get me wrong, they're there, but we don't have as many, and they're not as diverse as what you would get in bigger communities or coastal communities. But we are seeing a lot of growth, and with that growth, we're starting to see things kind of spread out a little bit, which is a good thing. That keeps that congestion that we talked about down to a bare bones minimum. So after living here for almost 7 years, would I move to Winter Haven again? Yes, by all means I would. I love it here. It's been a fantastic place to live. And now that I've been here for 7 years, I don't think I want to leave. Now, are some people going to want to leave because they don't like certain aspects of it? Sure, but you can't make everybody happy. Winter Haven has been a fantastic place for me and my family, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a fantastic place for you. So I would love to know what your thoughts are on Winter Haven, Florida. Shoot me a comment. Let me know if you've been here before. If you haven't been here, doesn't matter. Just let me know what you think. Try to keep it clean, because if it's not clean, I'm gonna delete it. So I'm just gonna let you know. I've already had that happen. I'm not gonna put up with it. Also, if you're looking at making a move, whether you're already in Winter Haven and just want to move across the street, or whether you are out of state and want to move into the area, let me know that. The easiest way is to get on talkwithvince.com and schedule a consult with me. It'll be a Zoom consult, takes about an hour, and we can walk you through everything that's going to take to get you moved into a home here in Winter Haven. So hope you liked the video. Hope you enjoyed everything, and hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.